I think the banks are doing something really crazy, something that I have not seen happen before. And honestly, it's one of those things that I can't believe actually happened to me. Today, there was a time where I was away from my phone. So it was probably about 2 hours that I was away from my phone. I come back and I had a missed call and a voicemail. So I checked the missed call or I checked the voicemail, and the voicemail said it was my bank. Said it was Bank of America, and they were trying to reach me to verify that my last visit was satisfactory to the branch. So I didn't really think anything of it, but at the same time, it's like this is odd. They've never done that before. But regardless, I got a phone call just as I was finishing listening to the voicemail, and the number was like a 1-888 or 1-866 or something like that, and it triggered because I was like, wait, this number looks familiar. Well, it's because I had just seen it from the missed call. So I pick it up, and sure enough, it was Bank of America, and they said that they were just, you know, wanted to let me know it was a recorded line, and for verification purposes, that they needed to ask me a few questions. I'm like, this is kind of strange because you're calling me. I didn't call you. You're calling me, asking me for personal information. So, I kind of gave them a hard time, and, I asked them some things just to see if it was really Bank of America. And the information that they had that they could share, I was like, okay, I'll play along. They said, well, we need your the last four of your social. I said, nope, can't give it to you. I'm like, well, why are you calling me? Well, we just want to make sure that your last visit was satisfactory. We want to ask you a few questions and just make sure that you're still satisfied with the customer service at Bank of America, which is a whole nother subject. We'll talk about that in another video. But I said, I'm not giving my social, any of that. And they said, well, how about the last four of your card? I'm like, nah. So they said, okay, well, we can verify based on transactions. I'm like, what? They were like, well, we can just ask you questions about your most recent transactions, and we can verify it's you based on that. I was like, I'm intrigued. You had my attention now. Now, what you got? So they asked me a few easy questions, and I was like, yeah, no, basically yes or no questions. Did you make this transaction? Is this done? Okay, we're good. Then it was verified. But ironically, this is where it took a real strange twist. And they said, so what were you doing? And it was like, what? Like they were prying into asking me what the transactions were for. I don't know if this was one of those like, when you learn a new language. You probably don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know any other language besides English that I speak fluently. But I feel like when you learn a new language, there are like phrases and idioms and just slang, small talk, icebreakers in different cultures and different languages. And I'm just wondering if maybe this was one of those disconnects because the person I was speaking with, seemingly English was not their first language. Just put it at that, like that. Pretty hard to understand them, pretty thick accent based on where they were from. And maybe it's just one of those things that gets lost in translation. You can't teach someone how to have chit chat. They have to be immersed. They have to just live it and feel it and do it. Because like I know in certain languages, in certain countries, in certain cultures, they have different phrases. And I was trying to think of one the other day. Somebody told me it was like, some British saying about how cold it is, and it was something to do with a frog or something. I've never heard it before, but that's like here in America speaking English, and you were to say to someone else in another country that learned English, and you were to tell them it's raining cats and dogs, they probably wouldn't understand what that means. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know if this was like a disconnect in teaching these people who have these jobs in customer service in these call centers around the world to try to chat with people. But I suspect that it was part of their job. It was part of their duty to try to learn more about the customer. Now, maybe this is learning more about the customer for retargeting, so to speak. So retargeting happens in advertising online where cookies are, if you accept the cookies on websites, and there's these pixels that basically follow you around the internet so that advertisers can retarget you wherever you go to show you ads of products that they think you're interested in based on search history, browse history, shopping carts that haven't been checked out, even things you're reading in your emails and saying on your phone, because they're always listening. But I suspect that they want to know more about the customer and their transactions. Now, for what reason? That's the major question. But I think the worst part about it is, if any of you guys can relate to this, is having a job and then having a job position, a role, your job duties, and then your job evolving and you being asked to do something new that you've never done before and you're not comfortable with it. So like if they were to ask you to, if you were a customer service representative, perhaps for Bank of America or whatever bank, it doesn't matter. And they were like, yeah, we just want you to field calls and help customers with questions and direct them to different departments and things like that. Sure, sign me up. If when you applied for the job and you were in the interview process and they said, hey, we'd like for you to basically cold call customers and try to be nosy and pry into their business and ask them about their financial transactions and what they're buying and what they're spending their money on, you probably, for the most part, would probably say, I'm not comfortable doing that. But now, since you already have the job and you want to keep it, they're going to tell you you have to do it or face the consequences. That's one of the reasons there's so many more that we can go into behind why I don't work for people except for myself or the businesses that I create. But with that being said, they even asked, after the verification of some transactions, some card swipes, or some automatic bill pays or whatever, because I don't even really use my check card that much. You guys know I use that American Express all the time. So even after that, they were like, oh, well, we see you made a sizable, or what did they say? It was a considerable cash withdrawal. And I was like, yeah, and? Yeah, I mean, we just want to make sure that you're satisfied with the customer service at the branch. What are you going to be using that money for? I said, I'm building a rocket ship, trying to get to outer space, meet Elon Musk up there. I said, it's none of your business, okay? Now, I said, I'm trying to be polite, but you called me asking me for my survey, my experience with customer service. And the branch is one thing, but this phone call is a whole nother thing. So am I going to get a survey for this? And they're like, oh, well, we know and they just, I don't know if you ever noticed, they keep pushing. And it's like they've been trained to push to the edge right before you're about to like either cuss them out or hang up on them. And it's like, oh yeah, we just want to make sure everything's good. We just want to make sure you're happy, make sure you're satisfied. You've been a account holder and a loyal customer. We really appreciate you for 20 plus years or whatever it was. I'm like, dude, you don't have to butter me up. What do you want? And he's like, yeah, we just saw that, you do this periodically. and just want to make sure everything is okay and you're satisfied. It's like he kept pushing on this whole satisfied thing, and it's like, look, dude, I'm good. I didn't call you. I didn't have a problem. You calling me? What do you want? And it's like, well, if you're interested, we could sign you up for our new platinum rewards. I'm like, not. I'm good. All right. Well, then they start selling. We can get you on our investment plan. We can get you with an investment banker. I'm like, so now I'm kind of like, is this a customer service survey? Is this you bugging the hell out of me about what I'm using my money for? Or is this a pitch for you to try to sell your services to me? Now I don't even know. I don't have a clue. But I just thought that was kind of odd that it actually happened to me, because I'm hearing stories all the time of some crazy stuff going on with the banks. And I shared a story with you guys earlier on another video about a bank in another country where they were holding account holders' money hostage. They were basically freezing the funds in the accounts, and they were going in there or at least one particular account holder went in there demanding their funds with like a toy gun or something. And it's getting crazy. So fortunately, since I'm paying attention to all these things and realizing what's going on, when these things occur, it doesn't really like shock me too much or catch me off guard. But at the same time, I'm going to be very cautious and careful with the amount of information that I share with, I don't even know who I'm talking to on the phone. But at the same time, I do want to get as much information as possible so I know what's going on, so I can get a better understanding of what could possibly be happening and share it with you guys. Because things are getting crazy. I even had someone send me an email, I think it was yesterday, and they were saying how they felt as though they were being targeted and kind of like painted into a corner by the IRS for a tax return during the pandemic when their income changed drastically, and ultimately they were in a position to receive a sizable refund on their tax return that they normally wouldn't have received. And they were kind of like strung along and then delayed and then hit with a hard deadline to provide tons of documentation and backup information. I'm not sure if they were audited, or if they didn't, they would be audited. But basically, they were under the assumption, and if you're watching it and you send me the email, comment below and just make sure I'm getting this right. They were under the assumption that the IRS didn't want to pay the refund. Now, I don't think that it's a situation that they don't have the money, but they may not want to shell out the money. The IRS, their whole agenda is to collect as much as possible and then some. And, honestly, this is why being employed in W-2s, to me, I don't really like them. It's because typically what you find yourself in is a situation where you overpay and you prepay and you overpay your taxes to the IRS. And any financial advisor, any financial investor, anybody who knows anything about money and building wealth and business and investing and cash flow will tell you that you don't want to prepay the IRS when you don't have to. Now, granted, there are some situations where, depending on the type of business that you operate, you're going to pay your taxes more than likely quarterly because of the size of the revenue volume that your business conducts. But for the most part, you don't want to prepay them because it's hard to get your money back from them through a refund. And that's what employment and W-2s do. They take your money out of your check, they pay the government. Usually they overpay the government, or the IRS, which is why so many people typically expect a refund every year, is because they're paying too much as it is. So then the IRS has your money the whole time to do what they want to do with it, which ultimately means they're using your money to make more money instead of you keeping your money and investing your money to make more money, and then determining how much you owe in taxes and paying that owe in taxes. So these are things that we can talk about in another video. But basically, if you are a contractor, if you're 1099, if you're a a business owner, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not paying taxes on any of the income or any of the revenues that you receive. And then you'll do your taxes at the end of the year and determine how much you owe and you pay, which is very important if anyone out there is running a small business, which I see a lot with truckers. Like I told you guys, I got numerous clients that I work with on a lot of different things, whether it's building out businesses, consulting on businesses, analyzing, and just all sorts. Because honestly, it won't take me long to really understand your particular business, but the concepts of business and finance and economy and accounting are pretty much like standard across the board. But what I see typically, especially with the like truck drivers, owner operators, hotshot truck drivers, is that and I've seen it a few times in real estate, but real estate agents they're typically much better at this than other independent contractors, basically. And they'll get paid and they'll keep a little bit, they'll stash a little bit away, but they don't actually create a fund, an investment fund to hold their percentage of expected tax payment, so that one, they have it, it's not a surprise, and two, that fund is isolated and separated, but that fund is designed in a way to earn interest, a return on your investment, until you need to take that fund and pay the taxes. So let's just say, for quick numbers, you create a fund that has $30,000 in it. Over the course of 12 months, it'll accumulate $30,000 because that's going to be what you owe the IRS in taxes. Okay. Now, this doesn't even get into, this being a pass-through entity and you seeing this income from this business pass through on a K1, and then you start taking deductions off of that. We'll just say you got 30 grand in a fund to pay your taxes, but that 30 grand, let's just say that 30 grand even saw like a 10% return. Let's say it saw a 10% return. It made 3 grand. Okay. So you got 30 grand in this fund to pay your taxes. Tax bills due, you take the 30 grand and you pay them. But the fund still has 3 grand in it from the profit you made from using that money to invest. You see what I'm saying? It's not just a savings account. It's not just a placeholder to pay it. It's another vehicle for investment and growth and just compounding all your efforts to allow your money to work and make more money for you. Now, I get it. If we're at this point of the video and you're saying, Kevin, all this is pointless, it doesn't matter, it's all going to collapse anyway. What are you you can't eat the money. I get it. I got it. I hear you in the comments. You don't have to keep screaming it, but I will ask you just a simple question. And that is, if what you say is true, if that's what you truly believe, if that's how you feel deep down inside, then why do you continue to go to work every single day to make money and get paid on your paycheck every week or bi-weekly or whenever you get paid? If you feel so strongly that this is a waste of time and money has no value, and we should only be worried about the skills and trades that we know and we can execute, and the food and seeds that we can plant and grow, then why do you continue to work to earn money if it's of no value?